Hello and welcome to East Meets West, the show where Rob and I discuss contemporary Canadiana from our adopted homes in Ottawa and Calgary. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
So much better now that I can say East Meets West again.
It has been, I think last time I looked, it was 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, kind of terrifying, but we're back.
Yes,
All is
in
right with the
the
world.
once in whenever time frame.
Yeah.
Very rigid.
And what more could you want?
A puppy?
That's true. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot to talk about today. It didn't seem like there was going to be, but I really think there is.
I'm glad.
What do you want to start with? Yeah, I guess you probably want to start with the draft.
I was going to say, how about we start with the god-awful, well, it's not god-awful, it's actually very pleasant weather Calgary is having.
Oh, yeah?
But daytime highs above 30 for like the past 3 or 4 days in a row. And this was one thing I liked about Calgary when I first came here, that it didn't do that. And now I'm all hot and sweaty.
That sounds really terrible. It's been nice here, and this is in, I guess, stark difference from last year where it was really hot. It's been mostly fairly mild here.
Ah, yes. Well, but as a result, I'm not wearing pants.
Nice. I thought about that, but then I was like, no, I have a little more self-respect than that. I'll wear shorts.
Well,
But I literally did put them on for this.
look at you, Rob, wearing shorts,
I'm elite now.
pretty much. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, top story today, the draft,
Yeah.
NHL 2015 draft.
I
And
actually looked at this.
couple
Just for
interesting points coming out, like right before the draft happened, I think. Did you hear about Calgary's trade?
Not.
Really?
Oh,
So
what happened?
Dougie Hamilton of the Boston Bruins is now a Calgary Flame at the cost of 1 first round and 2 second round picks.
Wow.
I believe all this draft. I could be wrong.
Okay. So we're taking this as good news for the Flames.
I don't know. It really depends on what happens. Like Dougie Hamilton was the 2nd first round pick of the Kessel trade. So it was pretty good because the Leafs were terrible. And yeah, he's projecting to be a #1 defenseman. And I don't know, it seemed to me like a very Berkey move because I recently read a 2-part article on a site that I should be able to mention here, but I can't remember it right now. It was about Burke's tenure in Toronto, and I was a big defender of Burke and a big believer of his system. But after reading that article and looking over everything, I am no longer a Burke supporter.
That's a shame.
Well, I mean, I look, and I suppose it's a little inaccurate potentially, but looking at all the picks he traded away and what those picks became, and all the players he sent away, like Alex Steen, who is now captain and I believe #1 center on the St. Louis Blues,
Mm-hmm.
or Anton Strawman, who's a very good defenseman in Tampa's system now. And he traded them for bigger, tougher guys with appropriate levels of truculence, pugnacity, and testosterone.
Did
As
you say
Burke was
truculence?
Yes, that was Burke's like favorite word.
Okay.
Truculence, pugnacity, and testosterone.
Does it mean what I think it means?
What do you think it means?
Like being a truck, basically?
No.
Oh.
Although,
I'm glad I
in a
asked.
somewhat ironic fashion, it's not far off. It's like, big, tough, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, traded them away for bigger players that never really went anywhere. And the only problem with that line of logic, like the one I'm just talking about, Um, I mean, I'm looking at who the picks actually became, and I'm upset about it.
Okay.
But that being said, if you look at the Leafs drafting prowess over that time, I'm not sure you can really be upset about it because they weren't very good at drafting.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you familiar with Frederick Gauthier?
No, I'm not.
Former Leafs first round pick. Not really projecting to be much of anything. They picked a giant center, and he's the projections when they got him was, he's projected to be a third line center.
Okay.
It's like maybe you could make a slightly riskier pick with your first round pick overall. Because I guess the strategy they were employing was to pick a quote unquote safe pick.
Right.
Like, yeah, he doesn't have huge upside, but he'll definitely be in the NHL. It's like, if you're picking that many people, like, 7 people a year, maybe gamble a little more.
Yeah.
Just a little more.
I have some real time follow up here.
Ooh.
I've looked up the word truculent
Okay.
because it's not quite like a truck, but it's similar. So easily annoyed or angered and likely to argue.
Oh.
Yeah. So harsh, deadly, destructive, feeling or displaying ferocity. He
That
might
sounds
not be using that correctly, but like exactly correctly. There might be a better word.
I think I was not using that correctly.
Well, it wasn't you using it. It was Brian Burke using it.
Well,
Which leads me to the next piece. I found an article in the Star where he's quoted as using all those words. Was it pugnacious, truculent, and yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be the article you're referring to, or it might just be another thing that's quoting the same thing.
I believe the article might be quoting his first speech as GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, so, I mean, one of the takeaways from that article, getting back onto the train of thought,
Yeah.
was that Burke handled his second round picks like hot potatoes. And apparently Treliving, GM of the Calgary Flames,
Okay.
apparently he actually made the move. So I guess it wasn't Burke, but it still seems like a Burke move.
Okay.
And I mean, it's impossible to say how that trade will play out, but a lot of people are saying that Calgary really fleeced Boston on that one.
Okay.
And there's now also speculation that Toronto has won the Kessel trade because Boston has pissed away every player that they got out of the Kessel trade.
Is that them winning, or is that them losing and then?
I have
also,
no idea how the logic there works. Because I've heard people say, oh, well, let's look at what they got out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they got a year or two out of Sagan before they chased him out of town. They traded Jared Knight to Minnesota, which was actually a surprise to me because I thought he was still in their system as a prospect, but they got rid of him.
Okay.
And yeah, now Dougie Hamilton is gone. And he's going to be great for the Flames, I'm sure of it. It's just, this was a very deep draft, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they could have gotten. But,
right.
I mean, Dougie's also only 22, so
yeah,
he's a very good prospect who's not even getting close to his prime yet.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but anyway, the Toronto Maple Leafs, because that's my team that I follow.
Yeah.
They had 2 picks in the first round.
I have it open right here, and I found it. I have something interesting that I wanted to point out, but what do you have to say?
More or less, I'll mention that we got Mitch Marner, which was interesting because he's a former London Knight, and Mark Hunter was the GM or something like that of the Knights before he came to Toronto to work in our front office GME sort of role that he's got now,
Okay.
because they're doing almost GM by committee at the moment. But they seem to have, like, all their picks that I've seen so far, they have put an emphasis on skill and speed instead of size. And I'm so excited about that.
It sounds like a good thing.
Well, in a speech on the matter, Kyle Dubas, who's their young stud assistant GM, said that, you always draft for skill and speed, because if you need like a big guy that's just kind of a plug, like you can just plug him in anywhere on the lineup, people will probably be willing to part with a piece like that in exchange for, a more skilled player.
Right.
So yeah, it's exciting. They're using a different approach, and I like that a lot because their former approach has not worked out very well.
The thing I noticed here, I actually only see one Toronto draft pick in the first round.
Well, that's the thing. Just a second, sorry.
That's okay. I was also going to say they got the number 4 pick, and they chose the smallest person that was chosen in the first round by 10 pounds.
Yeah, but I mean, oh my gosh. I looked at some of his highlights. They are just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Or using that in the colloquial sense?
Oh, he's out there making everyone look silly, and it's beautiful. Okay. Like, I guess he plays in such a way that, I guess in London there aren't a whole lot of complaints about his size because he's just ridiculous.
Right.
Like, it's not really a factor because he's so fast and agile that people aren't really laying him out a whole lot.
Right. Kind of like, what's his name? The
good old what's his name?
Marty St. Louis.
Yeah. So I don't have cable here, so I went downstairs, or I went to the bar downstairs to watch the first round.
Okay.
So, I had a beer, and that got me to about the fourth overall pick, and I was like, oh, the 24th, I'll have a couple more and see how that goes. And getting closer to the 24th overall pick, I was going, whoa, this needs to happen soon, because it's a lot of beer, and I didn't really have a formal dinner. And so I got to like 21, and I decided, okay, I'll just have one more beer.
Yep.
And that will almost certainly get me to the 24th overall pick. And you know what? It did get me to the 24th overall pick. But that 24th overall pick did not belong to the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they traded it for the 29th overall pick and another second-round pick.
Right.
And so I went, okay, it's getting close here. Like, I can watch the 29th overall pick. But they then took the 29th overall pick, traded it for the 34th, and another second-round pick. They took the 24th overall pick and turned it into, I think, the 34th, the 61st, and the 65th. So,
okay.
1 second and 2/3.
Okay.
At which point I went, I need to go have dinner. And in that, haze, we also agreed to record this episode.
We did, yeah. And
so
I'm so glad.
Something very good came out of that 24th overall pick, I suppose.
That was the trade that you made.
That is the trade that I made. Exactly.
So how does the process of watching a draft go? I've never done it, and you make it sound like there's a lot of time between these picks.
Well, I mean, officially it's 3 minutes. The team has 3 minutes to make their pick.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that timer's not running while the other team's up and announcing their pick. And then, that player's all like, yay, hooray, and like walks around, and I'm pretty sure the timer's not going at that point.
Oh, okay. So
all
right.
Yeah, if you're actually, they're being paid millions of dollars to sit there
Yeah.
So I assume if you're making that kind of money, you have a list prepared, at which point you cross a person off your list and go, okay, I know who we're picking next now.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I'm sure there's a lot of strategy that goes into it, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess trades happen because, like, I thought I'd missed the 24th overall pick because all of a sudden someone else was picking. I think it was Philly.
Yeah.
And I went, wait, what? What's happening? What's going on here? And then I saw that they'd traded it, and
Right.
it made a whole lot more sense.
So it reminds me, this is kind of like the game timer. They have 3 minutes, but it's like a CFL game clock of 3 minutes where they get, in the CFL, you get 20 seconds to do a down, but the time starts when the refs place the ball on this line of scrimmage and not immediately after the last play ends. There's some time to reset, and then they give you 3 minutes from then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about how it goes.
Okay.
But
it could be an ordeal.
Yeah. It was interesting, though. It was good to watch. I think the Leafs are doing good things.
That's good.
And yeah, fingers crossed.
This year. This is the year?
The year that they start getting better? I hope so.
The year that they win the Cup?
No.
No?
That is not happening this year.
Okay. Well, that's a shame. It's a shame that you know that already.
If you ask someone if it is the Leafs' year this year, and they tell you yes, either they know of something spectacular that is going to happen, or they're idiots.
Okay. That's
equally
fair.
Likely.
All right.
Yeah.
You're hoping for that thing, but you don't know. You don't have any idea what it could even be.
No. Well, and I mean, what they're trying to do, and it makes sense why they spun the 24th pick into 3 other picks. What they're hoping to do is, I don't know if they have already, but they would like to treat the Orlando Solar Bears as their kind of AAA sort of thing.
Okay.
So you would ideally have the fully stocked Maple Leafs, and this isn't going to happen overnight, obviously, but you'll have the fully stocked Maple Leafs, which are your best players, your minor league Toronto Marlies, who are, basically waiting in the wings for you to need a player at the Leafs. And then the Orlando Solar Bears as another team, which is, developing your youngest of players.
Okay. Makes sense.
And ideally you have almost identical coaching systems across the entire system or the entire 3 teams. So whenever you need a player at higher levels, they already know the systems. They can just jump in and start contributing.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So they've signed a lot of just, off the wall people too.
Right.
Good times. Good times. Did you pay any attention whatsoever to the draft? Do you have a horse in this race anymore?
I honestly did not know that it was last night until you said you were watching it. And then I promptly forgot about it until this morning. And I was like, oh, Nick said he was watching the draft. And then I looked it up and saw that I guess the order of the first 3, which was all I really had heard about before.
Yes. Strome was number 3.
Yeah. That's the way they were expecting, right?
I mean, here or there.
Yeah, okay.
Apparently, number 1 was obviously Connor McDavid. Number 2 was obviously Jack Eichel. And the next 3 were a little more, it was much less definitive. You'd think Strome would go next because he's a big center and that's what everyone wants.
Right.
And then there was also Marner and Hanifin. Apparently in the 3 to 5, or number 3 to number 5 picks, you were assured of getting a really good blue chip prospect.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So we have yet to see how that plays out, but I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with how this has gone.
Good. I wouldn't want you to be disappointed. Having wasted an evening drinking beer and watching young people get picked. It sounds so terrible. If you described how the draft goes, other than the fact that they get paid, like they sign contracts and all that, it sounds terrible. It's like, all right, I choose you. The next 3 years of your life are going to be spent working for me.
You make it sound like a Pokemon kind of thing.
Yeah.
Jack Eichel, I choose you. He comes out, he can only say his name.
Yeah. I do get that impression from some
post-game interview.
Yeah.
Like, Jack Eichel, can you comment on how the game's going so far? Eichel, Jack Eichel.
Yeah. That does give, like, some hockey players do give me that impression that was the kind of depth of conversation they could have, but there are definitely also some smart hockey players. So
yeah, actually, for a while, the Leafs had some good college signings, and they gave great post-game interviews, or even mid-game interviews, because they were actually doing things like going to Harvard and whatnot. So they were quite eloquent and articulate when they talked to people.
Right.
But it was great. Clark MacArthur, even I don't think he was signed out of college. We got him from someone, but he also gave just a stellar interview. Like, the normal one is just, we got to just work hard and shorten up our passes and give it 110% every shift, and be shooting and checking and coming up big.
Yeah.
But it's like with MacArthur, it was like, Clark, can you comment on why the game hasn't gone so well for you thus far? He's like, well, we keep giving the puck away in the neutral zone. Maybe if we stopped giving the puck away in the neutral zone, we might have some success tonight. And it was like, good call.
Yeah, but that's not unobvious. Like, any player could say that, but it's good that he is.
Yeah, but how many do?
It's good that he's commenting mid-game about actual strategy and not just saying, "Oh, we need to play harder. We need to get the pucks on the net and put some in." That's
exactly.
how it is. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was super exciting.
Anything else on the draft?
Oh, it's all Leafs picks as far as I'm concerned, but they've had one or two now that were just like, they picked them at 60 something.
Okay.
And I forget who it is now. I think it might be the Latvian guy, because they signed a Latvian. One group had him ranked 94th. One group had him ranked 195th. And NHL Central Scouting just did not have him ranked. But apparently he just did gangbusters in the World Under-18 tournament.
Okay.
And he's a common theme among their draft picks this year, unlike in previous years where the common theme was, oh, they're very big.
Right.
And that was about it. But the theme among their descriptions this year were to the effect of, oh yeah, he has great hockey intelligence, very fast, very good passes, plays a good possession game.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting to see if we just found a hidden gem, or just, the scouting staff goofed or something.
Right. Well, I know you'll be paying very close attention.
Absolutely.
Anything else you wanted to say on the NHL draft or the NHL in general next year?
God, I hope it gets better. I mean, for the Leafs specifically.
Yeah, of course.
If you're a fan of Chicago, like, this is the best it's ever been. But
right. Well, in that case, maybe let's back up a bit and talk a bit about fallout from our last episode, which was the Alberta election episode.
Yes, #AB Poly.
Yeah. So what have you seen out west since then?
Well, there have been, I mean, NDP is kind of surging in the polls in many places. The federal polling averages are a three-way race. And are you familiar with 308.com?
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit in that episode, the last episode.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I really like it. You know, good poll aggregator, and just it's been really accurate lately. But Eric Grenier has actually been on hiatus since the 12th, and he's coming back the 29th. You know, because we're really going to start seeing some more activity soon.
Yeah.
But the last poll had the polling averages as 30% for the Conservatives, 29% for the NDP, and 28% for the Liberals. And my God, but that is an exciting three-way race.
Which is kind of terrible if you think about it in terms of where they lean politically, but in terms of making a three-way race, yes, it is very exciting.
Well, yeah, because the seat projections are like the Tories are looking at 130 seats. The NDP is like 100, 110, and the Liberals are around 90 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's definitely minority parliament territory.
Yeah.
If nothing else. And it's going to be a very strong minority or very strong opposition.
Yeah, yeah. Which would lean me towards thinking that if it's a minority, that the Liberals and NDP would just join up and basically almost double not almost double, but much more power than the Conservatives would.
Now, are you suggesting that they would merge parties or form a coalition government?
I would like them. I would think it would be better politically to form a combined party, but I feel like a coalition is more likely.
Well, that is a consequence of first past the post, sir.
Yes.
If we recall CGP Grey and forcing a two-party system with first past the post.
I don't want a two-party system, but I also don't want. I feel like a majority is useful to have if you have a couple parties that are fairly similar politically, if not identical. Just because one of them, the NDP is newer, but I feel like
they have the word "new" in their name.
That is less important to me as the actual.
You're smiling and laughing, but you're like, no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would frankly rather see a coalition. But coalition is basically a dirty word now.
Yeah, for some reason.
Man, Stéphane Dion and who was it? Leighton, I think, threatened a coalition or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that was right before the 2008 election, where they were saying, listen, you can either pass a stimulus bill or we'll do it for you. And it was somewhere around there anyway.
Right.
But yeah, like people just flipped. Like they did not care for the idea of a coalition government. It was like, my party got the most seats in the House of Commons. That's how we win elections. We won the election. What are you doing? That's just an undemocratic parliamentary trick. Well, it's a logical consequence of a parliamentary democracy, and like all the other global parliaments often have coalition parties, as far as I know, or coalition rule. But yeah.
That being said, I think
silly
compromising is good in general in politics. People should compromise. They shouldn't. There's no reason for it to be a dirty word. There's no reason for it to be a dirty concept. It's just people need to actually understand what it means.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we talked on the show before about what? Nope, train of thought's gone. Sorry.
We've talked plenty about politics. The other thing that I pointed out here, the numbers that you have, are they from 308.com, the polling numbers?
Yeah, that's polling aggregation.
Right.
And you have, sorry, go ahead.
I have electionalmanac.com.
Oh. Well, let me take a look at that.
It's it's a link in the notes, and I'll put it in the show notes as well. But it has slightly different. It actually has NDP with a seat lead now. as of June 19th.
Actually,
Yeah.
ooh. And as an aside, you in the notes has the NDP Alberta had an effect on the federal polling averages.
Yeah.
Man, if you look at it, it's almost to the date of the Alberta election where NDP support just surges.
That makes sense.
And I think that might also have something to do with support of C51, but I can't remember how the dates actually worked out on that.
Right. Yeah.
So let me, sorry, I'm looking at the thing here.
Have we seen any impacts of C51 yet?
In what sense?
Like it's passed now, right?
I think it passed the Senate, yeah.
They did that. They instituted that thing, but that might be a different bill. I find it hard to keep track of political things, but they just passed the bill that
That's okay, Rob. That's why you have me.
that citizenship bill that allows anybody who is either
Oh,
eligible for another passport or their
God.
parents are eligible for a different citizenship, their citizenship can be revoked by the government.
Yeah, something like, God, that's a new one. And I haven't
Yeah.
looked up that one very much, but that is the stupidest. Like, all citizens are equal, but some citizens are more equal than others, is the
Yeah.
takeaway from that bill.
Which is crazy. I don't even
Yeah,
understand.
it's like, well, and the other thing is, how do you know that people who are granted citizenship by birthright are any more reliable than, new Canadians?
Yeah. I mean, they're not. It makes no sense.
New Canadians, which, for the record, chose to become
Yeah.
Canadians.
Yeah.
They're Canadians by choice. I'm Canadian just because I started here and I like it now.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
like, oh,
I hate this. I do not like it one bit. I feel
yeah.
like the thing they were adding that I'm not like I haven't looked at the actual specifics of it in enough detail to really make a final judgment. But they were also saying that even if you have Canadian citizenship, you have birthright, but your sort of ancestry, your parents, would allow you to gain citizenship to another country, your citizenship can still be revoked. So, like for instance, my parents, I believe I'm not actually sure about this, but I believe like if I could get British citizenship because of my dad, then they could just take away my passport and be like, oh well, go to this place where you could get citizenship if you kept going. Like you could basically become a person with no country if they want.
Yeah, like my dad, I think, is eligible for British citizenship because his grandmother was a British national.
Yeah,
And so if he got it, then I could get it. And then, so what? Like, they could strip me of my citizenship? That's just ridiculous. Ugh.
yeah. It basically and it downgrades everyone who's ever gotten citizenship. It downgrades their level of citizenship to something that can be revoked.
Yeah. Oh, they have just had the goofiest policy towards new citizens lately. Because wasn't it? I might be getting this confused, but I believe there was that whole big kerfuffle about the one woman who wanted to wear a niqab when she took her citizenship oath.
Yeah,
And I can't remember, but I feel like they wanted to pass a law that said you couldn't do that anymore. Or they tried to stop it. And they were
right.
like, yeah, well, you should be proud when you're becoming a Canadian citizen and you should show your face when you're becoming a citizen. And it's like, so we have this thing. It's called the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Yeah,
It gives you the right, like the right to not be discriminated against based on your religion. And unless there is a bona fide requirement for seeing the face of the person, you cannot force them to remove religious dress.
Right.
So like for airline security, I guess you can request a female staff member or something like that to come and look at your face
Right.
if you're a female and you don't want to be showing your face to men.
Right.
Because I think that's how that works. Anyway. But like, and that's one of those things, like, it just seems lately, it seems like the Tories are trying to get their laws thrown out on a Supreme Court ruling. Because they've had like 2 or 3 in the last few months that have gotten turfed based on Supreme Court rulings.
Right.
I'm almost, okay, I'm going into baseless,
My favorite.
hypothesizing here.
Yeah.
But it seems like either they are ignorant of what the actual requirements for laws are, in that, they have to comply with the Constitution because that's what the Constitution is. That's how that works.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just hoped that it would work and like the Supreme Court justices wouldn't notice.
Huh.
Or the other thing, because I saw Harper lamenting on, in public about, oh, well, we got this activist court of ours. They're throwing out all our laws. Kind of sucks, but I can't do anything about it. I wonder if he's just trying to placate his base with that.
It's definitely possible.
That would be great strategy to just say, okay, we're going to pass this thing which can in no way survive a Supreme Court challenge.
Yeah.
But then you can go back to your base and say, hey, we tried. Or I think it was a Supreme Court appointment that got turfed.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that.
There was someone that was super deserving of it, according to like everyone, and then they just appointed someone else, and the courts came back and said, "Yeah, you can't do that. That's not how that works." He's like, "But I want to appoint that person." Like, well, I'm sorry, Stevie, we got rules, and he was like, "Oh, man, why can't I get a majority in the Supreme Court?"
It reminds me of we talked about this in a past episode, but it reminds me of how Barack Obama, when he got into office, he was quoted as saying, traditional family is important. He formally, his platform opposed gay marriage. And then over the course of the last 8 years, he's basically like flipped a switch and is now completely for it, to the point that we now, like yesterday in the Supreme Court ruled gay marriage equal to just marriage in the entire US. Like that, it's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, to get voters on board with your policies, you have to say one thing, but then immediately, or like behind the scenes, something completely different is going on. And that's just a kind of a part of politics. A terrible, terrible part of politics, I should mention.
Yeah. Also, on that note, did you want to talk about the gay marriage ruling at all?
Yeah, sure.
Because like my gut reaction was more along the lines of, thank God, finally.
Yeah.
Like, what silliness. And so that's basically been my reaction. Also, there's the usual flurry of tweets from people going, man, I can't believe the US Supreme Court. They're just ridiculous. You know what, guys, I'm giving up. I'm moving to Canada.
Yeah.
And it's like, so there was this thing that happened in 2005. You're not going to like it.
Yeah. I heard people specifically referencing both that ruling and the what was it? The Supreme Court also struck down the Obamacare subsidies not working if you bought through a provincial exchange, or not provincial, state exchanges or something like that. So like a major piece of Obamacare that they were trying to like basically reverse it, and Republicans were trying to reverse it, and the Supreme Court went, no, these are valid, they're constitutional, all of that. And so I also saw people were like, well, now we have socialized medicine and gay marriage is legal, so I'm moving to Canada.
Do they know what happens in Canada?
I don't think so.
What do they think it is? It's just like, they just project upon us that we are the kind of United States that they want to live in,
Yeah,
but not.
it's wild tundra and poutine.
By the
Which,
way,
yeah,
poutine flavored chips from Ruffles. Not quite sure how I feel about them, but definitely give them a try. They're interesting.
okay,
Yeah,
I'll give them a try.
please
It
do.
sounds good.
Let me know what you think.
Last week I was at St. Albert Cheese Factory, the new one.
Oh, you mentioned that somewhere on social media.
Yeah, everywhere on
How
social
was it?
media. The pictures were everywhere.
Oh,
But it's a state of the art facility. I don't know if you heard about the old one. I'm sure you did hear about the old one burning down.
oh no, I didn't.
It was a few years ago, and it's been open for about a year. The
Well, that was
new,
before the Ottawa podcast,
yes,
so
exactly.
I
So
I wouldn't have heard about it.
how would you hear anything?
Yeah, I mean, if one of the you know 5 cheese factories within driving distance of Belleville, my hometown, had burned down, I'm sure my parents would have told me about it because
It's true.
that is, I don't know, it's odd, but it's like a thing that you do if you're going somewhere and a cheese factory is kind of sort of on your way. You'll absolutely go, oh, can we take like a 10-minute detour and get a bag of cheese curds? It's
Yeah,
like a thing that you do in that region. A lot of
absolutely.
dairies.
Yeah, and it
The
was great.
farming is not so great in some of the areas, but cows eat fine. So,
Yeah,
yep.
it was delicious and it was fun. Got to see this brand new state of the art facility that really, the way they were talking about the old factory burning down and the fact that this one cost like 35 or 50 million dollars, like a lot of money went into this new factory.
That's a lot of poutine.
Yeah, and they were talking about it gleefully. It really made it sound like it was an insurance fraud thing
We got all this money. It's amazing.
we're so sad about the old factory, but this one is great.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So, how did we get here?
We were talking about gay marriage and we got to cheese somehow. I
Yeah.
don't really remember.
Oh, and just on the note of uniting the opposition parties right now,
Okay.
I remember them asking Mulcair if he would join with the Liberals at one point because they could have taken control of the parliament. And they were saying, you're splitting the left, like this is a problem. And Mulcair went, well, I don't really buy that argument because you're always voting for a party. You're never voting against a party. You're voting for an individual party. And we are very different from all the other parties. And that is how we are going to carry forward. It's like, it's interesting.
That's strange.
Well, yeah, it is. It is and it isn't. But like, I really don't think he wants to merge the parties.
No.
As an interesting note, because I just looked this up recently, it's funny because the new Democratic Party is older than the Conservative Party.
Right.
I actually looked into this, and the Liberal Party is the oldest political party in Canada because it was founded in 1867.
Okay.
Like, they don't count the Conservative Party as going back as far as that sort of tradition does, because before the Conservatives, it was the Progressive Conservatives and the Canadian Alliance, nay, Reform. And like, they changed brands like several times, but each time they made a brand new party.
Right. Brand
Which
new
is interesting.
Yeah.
Because the Canadian Commonwealth Federation, which I think begat the NDP, although it would be a separate party, started in like the 30s. They're all really old.
Yeah.
It's just odd.
Yeah, political history is weird. People always talk about, when they're talking about the American system, saying that today's Democratic Party would be unrecognizable, today's Republican Party would be unrecognizable, but we still call them the same thing. I can't tell which is better. Like they have the two-party system with independents, and
Well, they used to have more parties, I think.
yeah, but they weren't well represented at all.
Oh, they eventually fell out of favor.
Yeah, and we have all these parties, and they change names, and they merge, and they unmerge, and I can't tell which is better. I think they're just both worse. I don't think there is a good way to have a political system.
Well, I don't know. It's interesting. Fun fact: the first Prime Minister of Canada was Sir John A. Macdonald
Yeah.
of the Liberal-Conservative Party.
What does that even mean?
Right? Exactly.
No,
And
but
then
honestly, what does that mean?
what it seems happened was they dropped the Liberal part of their name, and the Liberal Party of Canada was founded on July 1st, 1867.
Okay.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone worked together to make the country, and then they're like, okay, now we can get down to the important business of arguing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very strange. I had not heard that.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
Although now I'm looking at the page for the Liberal Conservative Party. It is the Conservative Party.
Well, I mean, if you track the majority of people that migrated from party to party, yes, it is the older incarnation of the Conservative Party.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And like,
don't like it.
Apparently the old Liberal Party was actually like Big L Liberal, like who championed things like the secret ballot and individual freedoms, which is very much, what conservative parties champion now.
Right.
But I guess the Liberal Party got into what's called social liberalism. And, what is it? It's like there's a difference between like equality of opportunity and equality of result. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how it's formally recognized, but that's a whole nother matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so three-way political race currently-ish, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at how much support the Conservatives have at the moment.
Why is
just
that?
Given the complete NDP surge. Oh, and another complicating factor. Do you know who Gilles Duceppe is?
Yes.
Yeah. Gilles Duceppe is back in the mix in Quebec. He is leading the bloc.
Yeah, which is why they've also surged in the polls.
Yeah. But the NDP have like, in their seat projections anyway, I think it's like 50 of them are from Quebec.
Yeah.
And just, what are they going to do? Like, what's going to happen? This is a thrilling election to be going into.
Yeah.
I'm going to do all the reading.
Yeah. What I see here on Election Almanac, they have sort of the seat projections over time. And between 2 weeks ago and last week,
I need to learn how to use this, by the way, because I cannot figure it out at the moment.
Figure out which? How
this works.
Which?
Election Almanac.
Oh, well, I just see it right at the top.
Oh, wait. I widened the page.
Yes. They, yeah, that would be confusing.
One of us is a goof. It's me.
The Bloc gained 17 seats. The Conservatives lost about 20 seats. The Liberals lost 10 seats, and the NDP gained 12 seats. So it seems like it's hard to say exactly. I don't have the details of exactly which seats were lost and which seats were lost and then went to which party. But it'd be very interesting if, like, I want to know where the Bloc got their seats from, and where the NDP got their seats from, whether it was Conservatives going Bloc or Conservatives going NDP. But it's interesting.
I think it'll be. I mean, looking at projections, the Conservatives did not do well in the province of Quebec in the last election. So I would assume, like, that was part of the Orange Crush.
Yeah, it was
Quebec. So I assume most of those are coming at the expense of the NDP.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they gained a bunch of Liberal ones.
Oh, yeah. And that's almost certainly due to C-51.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say on the election stuff?
Oh, it's going to be so exciting.
It's going to be kind of exciting. I saw a headline a while back that said the election had been called. I believe it was October 19th is the date.
It has not been called.
I thought they said it had been called.
No.
I read that it had been called. Why does this website say October 19th then?
Because that is the fixed election date. That is 5 years from the last one.
Okay.
4 years.
Yeah, I think it's 4 years.
I think it's 4. Yeah, it's 4.
Okay.
Ontario used to be every 5 years, and then they moved to 4-year fixed election dates.
Right. So it's then or sooner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because you only formally schedule the federal election when you drop, or it's called dropping the writ. And I looked this up because, well, I'll jump into this now. I'm currently volunteering for Kent Hare in Calgary Centre, who is the Liberal candidate.
Mm-hmm.
But frankly, it's more because of Kent than because of Liberals. Like, I could see my vote going either Liberal or NDP at this point, just because.
Right.
Well, my feelings on the current Conservative government are well documented in my blog and on Future Chat and on here.
Yes.
But yeah, no, he's a good guy, and he has all the time in the world for people, which is another good thing. He's also been known to vote against his own party if he disagrees with the way his party is voting on something, which is something else I really like.
Yeah.
And I asked if I would be able to talk to Kent about federal funding of science at the federal level, and he agreed to meet with me, and we can talk about that on Future Chat.
We will, and
in which federal funding of science is a very common theme.
Yeah. Did this already happen, or is this happening?
It happened on Friday. And
he didn't agree to meet with you on the condition that you get a haircut, which is all the more impressive.
Wait, what?
I mean, I'm sure you clean up, but you have so much hair. So much.
I don't know if you know this, but I've been volunteering in the office and essentially functioning as one of the faces of the organization. Because for a while there were only 2 people in the office at any given time, and that was frequently me and another guy that they've actually hired named Derek.
Okay.
Derek's clean cut, but
right.
Whenever Derek was busy, I was the face of the organization. I even opened and closed the office a few times. So I was the face of the campaign office with this much hair.
They're trying to say, hey, look, they're trying to have people that rather come to the office and say, oh, is that Justin Trudeau? Oh, no, that's just our guy, Nick.
I don't know if you're aware of the stereotype, but there is the stereotype of the long-haired intellectual.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. My favorite reading of the stereotype is in my book on MI5. And one of the presidents or whatever of the organization came in, and he said he was very distrustful of those, quote, long-haired Oxbridge types. Oxbridge being a portmanteau of Oxford and Cambridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe that's like a conscious decision. They saw me and they were like, my God, look at his long curly hair. And he talks about science. We got to get him. We got to get him on board.
Little did they know how easy it would be.
Hey, I was actually recruited.
Yeah.
Like, I talked to people in a bar.
Yeah.
And then at the coffee shop. Crazy.
It's funny how that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what prompted me to talk about that.
It doesn't even really matter, but I'm excited.
Yeah. I don't know. Talk to Ken about science. It's good stuff. Good times. And according to 300A.com, he fluctuates between 70 and 80% likely to take the riding of Calgary Centre.
Wow.
Our opponent is the Honorable Joan Crockett.
Okay.
Who I believe is a self-proclaimed backbencher. Like, she prides herself on voting with the party.
Right.
And many people will find that an admirable quality.
Yeah, they do. And I don't really know why.
Well, nor do I. And that's why I'm not volunteering for Joan.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And for the record, the NDP have not formally declared a candidate for Calgary Centre.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
But I imagine they will.
It's my assumption they will. I mean, they always run a full slate, even
Right,
if it's a paper candidate and they don't actually. Have you heard about that?
No, Nick, nobody who is a paper candidate who doesn't even campaign could ever win. How would that happen? That would be ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Are you making the joke I think you're making?
I'm trying to.
For the sake of clarity? Okay.
Like someone maybe just like, what, you think they're just going to say they're going to run and then just go on vacation? Who would do that?
Like, they would probably go on vacation in like the Caribbean.
Yeah, that's pretty
and
irresponsible.
not even speak French if they were running in Quebec.
Those NDP. They did well.
I actually know a guy who was apparently offered a paper candidacy for the NDP.
Well, you could just run as a paper candidate for the NDP.
Well, apparently I can't because I don't know the right people. But
no, I mean just like write your name down on a piece of paper and submit it.
Oh no, like this, they're a formal nominee.
Yeah, no, I know. You'd have to talk to someone. But
yes. And who likes talking to people, honestly?
Well, apparently you do. At least in this case.
That is true. I do like talking to people.
about science.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. So you have a couple of stories here. Do you want to talk about those, or do you want to talk about my sort of insider tech?
Oh man, it's tough. Okay,
government tech overlap story.
Let me knock out a really fast one.
Okay.
So you're aware of the language police in Quebec?
Not formal language police, but yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
There are actual language police.
The ones that are enforcing signage in both languages?
Well, there's like important stuff where, like, if you're writing in English, the lettering can't be more than a certain percentage of the French lettering or something like that.
Okay.
And they also had some recent kind of hilarious run-ins in which they cracked down on the word pasta because it wasn't French. And they were like, it's not French, but it's not English either. It's Italian.
Yeah.
Like, that is the name for the thing I'm preparing.
Right.
There is no word in French for it because everyone calls it the Italian thing.
Yeah. Even English people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's called pasta. That's what it's called. But by God, it's not formally French. So you got to call it like the French word for noodle, I guess. I don't even know. But so are you familiar with the term foodie?
Yes.
Someone who very much likes food, I think.
To a fault, I think, is part of the definition.
I would say a lot of it comes down to people who like food and become pretentious about it
Yeah, yeah, that's a
and
good word. Pretentious
really,
comes to mind.
really want a fun label for themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
I love food, but I'm not about to call myself a foodie because
No,
contrarianism, right? But
exactly.
the word foodie will not fly in French because food is an English word.
It's yeah, all right.
So, and the funny thing is, there is a word in French that could be used, and it's like gastronome. We would say gastronome, but it would be like gastronome
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. But that wasn't good enough because I guess there's a certain connotation to it where it doesn't quite fit the need of foodie.
Or like it's a larger person, I would assume.
Yeah, I think that was the connotation they were referring to.
Okay.
So they have gone with cuisine man.
What? What? That word sound, nobody's gonna use that.
Oh, they will. There are
Um,
language police who will enforce the usage of cuisine man.
that, it's not even good.
I know, right? Like, what did they do?
Uh, wait, they have okay. I see gourmand
Oh, gourmand might be it.
because gastro is a word, but
Oh,
like
okay. I am thinking of. Sorry, I mixed that one up because I haven't actually looked at this in like a month.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I the word gourmand seems perfect here. It seems like that should
Right?
be the word that the English people use.
Exactly.
I'm a gourmand. That's what you say when you're like a fancy eater until the word foodie came around.
Yeah.
But I don't like cuisine oman.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, there's a quote at the end of this. Gourmand is more like a glutton, somebody that loves food, as opposed to a foodie, someone that has an extreme interest in food.
Right. I think gourmand
Because
in English has a much closer link to foodie, but in French it's probably a little different.
damn hipsters, like
The gastro pubs are a thing that have recently sort of come into favor, where you get that.
which I would like to just go on the record as saying I absolutely adore gastropubs and
Yeah,
brew, and oh my god, they're like my favorite thing.
yeah. The
Have you been to a pub where they formally recommend beer pairings?
yes.
Because that's always wonderful.
Well, the best one is when they recommend beer pairings that they are the beers the brew they brew themselves in the restaurant.
I know it's perfect.
Yeah. I've
Like I
never
think
followed them.
I think Beer Revolution does that here,
Yeah.
and that it's just fantastic. Like I wasn't even aware that like beer pairing was a thing for the longest time. And then I started hearing about it and actually trying it, and it's amazing. It's like wine pairings with food, except I'm not really as big a fan of wine.
Right. It's perfect. Otherwise,
Yeah, like
in
I
other
think I
words.
had fish and chips and like a brown ale or something like that, and it just everything complemented each other. It was so nice.
Yeah.
And I
I
feel
think
like
that
this is the kind of thing a foodie would say, but I still don't want to call myself a foodie.
no, I know I'm not a foodie because I look at like the fancy dishes that are really well plated and put together and takes 10 minutes to get the sauce drizzled just right. And I'm like, I could have been done eating that by now. Just give it to me. Why are you doing this?
Also, the whole Soylent thing.
Soylent's delicious.
Do
I had some
foodies
this
like
morning.
Soylent? Is that
No,
a thing?
they would hate it.
Would they?
Yeah.
I've actually been watching your experiment with interest, and we'll talk about this on future chat, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've been watching your experiment with interest because, as you know, I am now a bike camp instructor again.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get my bike back from the mechanic, because I changed tires and broke something, because that's such a Nick thing to do with a
Yeah.
bike.
Yeah.
Um, once that happens, like when you're burning over 3,000 calories a day, food can become an arduous
It
task.
is, yeah.
And I could, like, there are things that I really like having in the morning and kind of in the afternoon.
Right.
Like when I'm doing bike camp, I found I really like having something like bean based or legume based, like black bean soup and hummus are favorites, just
Hmm.
because they're not overly heavy and they kind of break down slowly. And also, like borderline heat stroke is a thing where you can't really force that much food down your throat, so you kind of you can't go with something too heavy.
Yeah.
And I really like having eggs in the morning. But if I could just get home and just mix up some Soylent, I feel like I would be very happy with that.
Yeah. I'll save my thoughts on it for tomorrow, future chat, but uh, being able to prepare and drink 500 or 750 calories in a few minutes with water is amazing. So
Yeah.
great.
And I mean, I'm also looking at like having Google Fit is very nice because there are times when I burn a lot of calories and I don't really know how many I've burned, and then I eat a normal amount of food and then I'm frustrated because I'm still hungry and I can't go to sleep.
Right.
But if I could kind of ballpark what I need, and with Soylent, you can, almost fine tune the amount of calories you're getting.
Yeah.
Seems like an ideal solution.
Yeah. It's definitely.
But I'm sure we'll talk about this again tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll talk about the science of it. Right now, we're talking about the culture and lifestyle of it.
Yeah. Foodie. Or cuisine man.
I mean, that is going to I see feminists already getting up in arms that it's not cuisino woman or cuisino femme.
Is that how that works in French, though?
I don't know. I don't think it's quite the same, but I see something like that happening.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the French word for foodie.
Yeah. I don't like it, for the record. Once again,
Nor do I.
not my cup of
But
tea.
no. But one thing that you do like is wireless.
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
We got some unexpected news this
Oh, there's
past week.
news?
Sorry?
There's news?
Unexpected news from the government / wireless industry. So James Moore, who is the current Minister of Industry,
Right.
he is a champion of a lot of policy that has helped consumers get better wireless plans, or at least have more information about the wireless plans they're signing up for. He was the champion.
He recently stepped down, I think.
Well, he announced that he's not running for re-election this fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is it, that's fine. I'm concerned. First of all, my job at NSERC is to write reports that he signs off on. So I'm directly affected by this change. Now, basically, our entire department is kind of up in the air until the fall when we find out who our new Minister of Industry is.
You're going to have to change your templates.
I know.
How on earth will you manage?
I think I'll be fine. I don't know how some other people might cope. It might be hard.
Yeah.
But so he's leaving. He was the champion of the wireless code of conduct. He oversaw a lot of good stuff in the past few years to do with the wireless industry and the CRTC. So I'm really interested to see what's going to change as he leaves, whether the telecommunications industry, places like Rogers, Bell, TELUS will develop more and more power, or whether the next government will be able to, whether it be conservative, whether it be someone else, whether they will be able to keep the reins on these big companies. But the biggest sort of news of the week that came sort of right on the heels of his announcement is that Mobilicity's number of appeals to sort of stave off bankruptcy have failed ultimately, and Rogers ended up buying out the majority of the company. And so basically, Rogers is going to get a bunch of Mobilicity's spectrum, and their customers, as far as I know, are going to them. Wind, fortunately, is also getting some of the spectrum that Mobilicity had. So that's, I guess, a positive in that regard. Wind is going to get a bit bigger, but also the whole goal of the changes that, among other people, James Moore made are that they wanted to limit the power of Rogers, Telus, and Bell, because they just basically gobble up little companies. And so they were praising companies like Mobilicity and Rogers for being being independent, being smaller companies, upstarts trying to gain customers.
And I'm pretty sure James Moore was one of the architects that allowed for Wind, Mobilicity, and Public to come in.
Yeah, exactly. And now Mobilicity is just gone to Rogers. Like, you couldn't have avoided this. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a few Mobilicity customers who are going to be very upset about having to go to Rogers. If you read forums where people complain about the wireless industry, they use any number of vulgar names to describe Rogers and say, oh, I'm proud to be with Mobilicity or proud to be with Wind because I don't have to go to this company that likes to take money from me or has taken money from me in years past. And now that's going to be happening to them. They're obviously going to have the opportunity to leave, but I'm sure Rogers is going to make it very compelling to sign a new contract, a nice big fat 2-year contract. And some of those people are going to be unsatisfied with their service. I'm sure there'll probably be a few that it will be fine or just don't care anymore. But I don't think any good can come from sort of the coalescence of power, another chunk of power going back to the big 3 companies.
Yeah. Honestly, for all the things that I think Harper has done that were goofy, like the work that James Moore did in the wireless industry, I was pretty happy with.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm not an insider and I don't know the relative efficacy of things, but like as a consumer, I have appreciated, the wireless code of conduct, among other things. Other interesting note, Kaya is currently working for Industry Canada in Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a bombshell in her office.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Also, James Moore, under reorganization, is the head of NRC. Because they shuffled NRC and I guess NSERC too under Industry Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
Because what other purpose would National Research Council ever serve?
Other than industry?
Yeah, that's basically why we have science, because otherwise what good has research ever done for anyone?
Yeah. I like that has become a staple of every podcast. You saying, what good is science? What has it ever done for anyone?
Yeah. Inside jokes. They're nice.
Yeah, they are nice.
And sorry, I'm going to spin this politically because this is East meets West and not Future Chat, so I can do that, with vim and vigor. This is actually part of a fairly mass exodus from the Tory caucus, because I think there's now 6.
I think I read 5, but it might have changed. That might not include more.
There was, there's most recently James Moore, who has been a superstar. I mean, he's by no means a household name, but he's done a lot in his time there. Apparently, he took office when he was 25, and now he's like, I kind of want to do something else. I'm 40.
He said he was spending time with his family. His rare bone disorder or something. So I get that side of things.
And apparently Harper had a similar thing. Like he had complications with his home life, and he did step away from politics for a while. So apparently he is one of the most understanding people about that kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, Peter MacKay's gone. Peter MacKay, who was former head of the Canadian Alliance, I think, or no, he was head of the Conservative Party, the PC party, who pledged that he would not merge with the Alliance. And then something happened. But there's always also been John Baird, who was, I described him as the Ty Domi of the House of Commons.
Yeah.
Like, Harper would just stand up and be like, yeah, gonna let my goon take this one. And to this day, if you Google a picture of John Baird, like just Google John Baird and go to Google Images, it's probably going to be him in midpoint and with like his yelling face on. Like he's midway through yelling and pointing at someone
Yeah.
in like 80% of the pictures you'll find.
We had this exact conversation a few episodes ago.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jim Flaherty, who was his longtime finance minister, stepped down, died like a mere weeks after stepping down. But like they've lost a lot of the, what would you call it, intellectual property of the Conservative Party. Intellectual.
That's not what I would call it.
Not property, but capital.
Maybe? Yeah, I guess that's a way to. Yeah.
He lost a bunch of big personalities anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, and I want you to look this up as I talk about it.
Okay.
Because I did a silly thing.
I'm Googling CGP Grey right now. What do you want me to look up?
It's not CGP Grey, actually.
Okay.
Our new finance minister is Joe Oliver.
Yes.
Who we talked about last episode, I think.
Yeah.
Now, there is another guy in the Tory caucus named Tony Clement, I think.
Minister of Finance?
Tony Clement or Joe Oliver? Joe Oliver is Minister of Finance.
Maybe he's the outgoing one? Oh, President of the Treasury Board. Sorry, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Close enough.
So now, look up Tony Clement.
I'm very familiar with Tony Clement.
Okay.
Yes.
So, when I first saw Joe Oliver, I thought that Tony Clement had just hit a really, really rough stretch. Because, like, a lot of the press photos of Joe Oliver lately have been him just looking really old and in very poor lighting.
Oh, that's too funny. I definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, but you see it, right?
Yeah. They look really similar, and yeah.
It was only last week that I figured out they were different people.
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, so that was an interesting discovery for me.
If you see them side by side, you can probably tell them apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone showed me a picture, if I'd never seen either of them before, someone shows me a picture of one of them, and then 2 hours later shows me another picture, I'd be like, oh yeah, that guy. I remember him. You showed me his picture 2 hours ago. He looks much worse now.
Yeah, it's like, what's happened to him in the last 2 hours?
Yeah.
It's like the last couple of years must have been really hard on Tony Clement.
Yeah. Tony Clement is very, very active on social media.
Oh, okay.
NSERC, at least the division of NSERC that I work with works very closely with Treasury Board, and so I'm definitely familiar with him. Yeah, good stuff.
Right.
Okay, Nick, you have one more thing here about, I guess, housing prices to talk about. We're well past an hour here, so why don't you bring it home?
Yeah, this will be a wrap up, but kind of a sad one, I guess.
Okay.
Some people are saying that housing prices are a little bit high. And this is even though oil has kind of tanked and we're still not really charging forward after the recession.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, being on the ground, it doesn't seem like it's going terribly well.
Right.
And the other word for something being systematically overvalued is a bubble.
Yeah.
And it was a housing price bubble in the United States that was one of the immediate causes of the Great Recession.
Yep.
And so, man, that is concerning.
That's very concerning. As somebody who has, well, who is soon to be joining into a partnership that includes property, yeah, it's a little scary.
Yeah. So I mean, jeez. It's like, oh yeah, we could conceivably get out of this slump with, the right kind of action. The right kind of action that Kent Hare totally supports. Vote Kent Hare in Calgary Center. Um,
We've sold out. Well, you've sold out.
no, I just thought that'd be a funny thing to
Yeah.
drop. But
Oh, it's very funny.
so I mean, and then you get out of that and you're like, oh, by the way, housing prices are kind of overvalued, and that could be a crash in which many people's nest eggs are just gone. So look for that sort of Damocles in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think the worst part of it is if the housing market, if the housing bubble crashes, people will refuse to sell homes or refuse to sell property because it's not as high as it was. And you can't expect it to be as high as it was. Like, you have to take that loss. Once it happens, once a bubble bursts, you have to take that loss, or you're going to be losing even more by just sitting on this property that you don't want.
Well, and I mean, that's buy low and sell high is the whole name of the game. But that's very rarely what people do. They keep buying when it's high because they're like, oh my God, it just keeps going up, up, up.
Yeah.
It's like the Dutch and tulips.
Yep. They don't know anything about their tulips.
Yeah, and then just everything will crash and people are like, oh my God, I got to unload this deadly toxic asset.
Yeah.
Toxic asset being a technical term, which I am not at all using properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to unload this horrible thing and get some of my money out, and then it just gets bad.
Yeah. Nobody wants to buy a house for $300,000 and then sell it for $250,000.
Yeah.
But if that's where the market is and you want to sell your house, you have to take that loss, or you have to hold on to property.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, the moral of the story is, in the short term, if you are renting and thinking of buying, maybe keep renting.
Yeah. Maybe just for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says from his apartment in downtown Calgary.
That's good. That's where you want to be.
I absolutely adore this location. As soon as you can get to Calgary, you got to come visit.
I will. I have no idea when I will be able to come visit, but that as soon as I do.
I'm in kind of the same position. It's like, I really want to go back and visit all my friends and family in Ontario. No idea when that could possibly happen.
Yeah. Unless I bike there.
Man, do you know how much I'd have to eat?
Fun.
Be ridiculous.
Yep.
Oh, I would need a different bike. Well, so long as I have the wind at my back for most of the way, we'd be good. And through Saskatchewan, that'd just be great.
It's too bad the jet stream doesn't come down at like 6 or 7 feet above the ground.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, you'd have to get like a time trial bike to go through Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Especially southern Saskatchewan, which is where I would be going.
Exactly. Yeah, that might be the worst.
It's funny too, because through the Badlands in Alberta, where most of it is just flat, it's kind of the prairies, but with less water.
Yeah.
So many time trial bikes out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my head is just on a swivel so long as I'm not driving. Because like, Canadian Tire doesn't sell time trial bikes.
Right.
Like, they're all nice bikes if you're buying a time trial bike or a triathlon bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just, there's a lot of gawking going on.
As there should be. Nice bikes deserve to be looked at.
It's funny because when Kai and I were in Miami, there were a lot of single speeds, fixies, cruisers around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just not used to that because it's very flat and very urban.
Right.
And so my head was on a swivel the entire time. And at one point, Kaya looked at me after I was looking at this guy's bike, and she's like, I know what you were doing. But if that guy caught you, he would absolutely think that you were checking him out.
Yes, he would.
Yeah,
he might not like that.
I think we've also had conversations where, like, she'll catch me when I've, strained my neck enough and I've turned back around, and she'll just look at me as, was it the girl or the bike?
Why can't it be both?
The sad thing is, it is most often the bike.
Yeah. I mean, if a girl has ridden a bike long enough, she'll have pretty nice calves, but...
Yes, quite probably.
What do you think? Is that a good place to wrap it up?
I think that's a great place to wrap it up.
All right. Sounds good.
So, is there any way people could support our show, Rob?
They definitely can, and I've completely turned on my my Audible love. So today's episode is brought to you. So thanks so much to audible.com. You can get a free audiobook as well as a 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/unwind. Be able to find a link in the show notes and on unwindmedia.com to get to audibletrial.com/unwind. That'll support the show. You'll be able to try out a free audiobook. I would suggest trying reading The Martian by Andy Weir, or I guess having it read to you because it's an audiobook. It's an awesome book, and it's being made into a movie starring Matt Damon that's coming out this fall. It is an incredible book, and you can get it for free if you go to audibletrial.com/unwind. They have 180,000 approximately other audiobooks and audio products that you can try out, and they have apps you can stream that kind of stuff to your iPhone or Android device. Thanks, Audible.
Thanks, Audible.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Nick, where can people find the show itself? Do you know this? This is a pop quiz.
Oh, my God. Is it unwindmedia.com?
Unwindmedia.com/EMW specifically, but yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Feel free to follow us on Twitter. We're at _EMWFM.
Cool. I should probably give that a follow.
You probably should. No, you are following it now. It took an embarrassingly long time, but I believe you're up to speed now.
Oh, thank heavens.
It's a good thing you use Twitter all the time.
I know, right?
All right, Nick, we going to do this again soon?
God knows.
Every 5 weeks or so, it happens.
Once in every whenever.
All right, well, I will talk to you then.
Cool. Talk to you then, Rob.
All right.